Greetings, Black Nomads. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that intro video. With this one, we're going to dive into the foundation. We're going to start laying the groundwork and show you everything that we use to build what we know, what we can say is wisdom, and what we understand. Any of those three things, for me personally, has come out of the King James Version Bible. It's been the most purest, most truthful version I've seen. And again, this isn't to disrespect any other version, it's just the version that I follow. That being said, I want to first lay out one of the things that I want for everybody to know if they care to follow this path. And that is, anytime that we're praying or we're prophesying, for a man, their head should be uncovered. For a woman, their head should be covered. The proof comes out of 1 Corinthians 11, verses 4 and 5. I'm going to break that open real quick, read it to you just so we can lay that foundation on the table. And it says, every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head. But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered, dishonoreth her head. For that is even all one as if she were shaven, meaning it's the same. It's all one thing, means the exact same thing, right? So, that being said, I also want to give a few tips that I've done and a few things that I would suggest for everybody else out there. Alongside having a sword or a Bible, right? Also keep a notebook with you. I keep a simple notebook just to take any of the scriptures that I've enjoyed that help me to get through my days, whether good, whether bad, something to just keep notes and make a quick reference to, right? So I definitely want to crack that open. I'm going to read out of that today. And as we get further down the line, we'll start cracking open the book a lot more. So a couple of the first things that I wanted to lay out was one, the conclusion, right? Everybody wants to know, what are we here for? What are we supposed to do? What is our purpose? I found the answer to that plainly in Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. And it says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So, two things to that, right? First is to fear God. The second is to keep his commandments. So there's a few understandings out here that, the commandments are done away with. God is the same yesterday, same today, and he's going to be the same tomorrow. If that's the case, then the commandments that we know of are still intact according to this understanding. No disrespect to anybody else's path again. It's just this understanding speaks a little more to me. So that being said, I definitely want to dive into those commandments, and I'm going to end the video with that, right? The commandments known as the 10 Commandments comes out of Exodus chapter 20, and it starts at verse 1 and ends at verse 17. But for us, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start at verse 2. And it says, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. That's the first one. So simple, right? There should be no other gods that we worship on this earth. God is the only one that has created everything, so how can we worship another creation, right? Verse 4 says, thou shalt not make unto thee, any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. So that takes away a lot of the symbols and the signs that we see. That's one of the things that me personally, if I see a symbol or a sign for somebody who's trying to give me something spiritual to eat, it's not always going to be, the all the way right answer, if that makes any sense. Meaning for me, I'm not going to go somewhere where I may see a cross, because that to me is a sign, right? I'm not going to go anywhere where there may be a fish or a six-pointed star. Again, I mean no disrespect. This is just a path for others to follow, right? Verse 5 says, Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. That speaks very plainly. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. There's that and keep my commandments again. But one thing I do want to highlight in verse 6, the one I just read, is showing mercy unto thousands. How many people are on this earth for him to just plainly say thousands that love him, right? Verse 7, Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Now, some people have grown up understanding, me included, that meant saying the GD phrase, as everybody knows, right? Not so much. As I began to uncover that and understand that, no, that's not what it is. If you walk in the name of God and try to teach in the name of God, but you don't do things that God says to do, that's taking his name in vain, because you begin to allow the people that follow you believe that you're actually coming in God's name by God's instructions, when it's not fully in God's name and in God's instructions, right? Verse 8, Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Therein lies why you'll see some of us keep the Saturday as a Sabbath day, and that's what I do as well. That to me is the seventh day of the week, so that's what we rock with here on this channel. Verse 9, 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. So that means that, again, if you have a household or any kind of dwelling of your own, if you delight to follow after God and that is your household that you pay for, your name is on it, so on and so forth, anybody that comes into that household should keep the Sabbath day that you delight to keep, which should be the seventh if you follow after this instruction. Not my words, but this is just words coming straight out of his word, okay? Verse 11, For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Verse 12, Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. That being said, a lot of us have parents that aren't going to always agree with what we do. That's not saying that if they don't, you have to abide by what they say. It's just saying honor them as your mother and as your father. Don't ever disrespect them. If that's what they do, agree to disagree, right? Respectfully, of course. Verse 13, Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Right? That is just plainly saying, if your neighbor has something that you like, don't begin this Jones effect, right? Because then you'll begin to get beside yourself and want to gain what they have. So don't covet. What's for you is going to come to you, right? With that, I'm going to just end it right there. I'd like to definitely create more content and see where this goes, right? Because again, we're growing together. I want to uplift you guys. I definitely don't want to make it seem like we're just going to put you in a box. This is if you want to follow, perfect. If you don't want to follow, perfect. We'll get into other topics, we'll get into other things, but at the end of the day, this is what I follow. And anyone that wants to come along, let's do this, right? So have an amazing day. See you later.